ആ ഇതിൽ ഓൾറെഡി ഹോസ്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് വന്നിട്ടുണ്ടല്ലോ, അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ ഒന്നും ചെയ്യേണ്ടതില്ലെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു അല്ലേ?
ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ ചെയ്തായിരുന്നു, ഹോസ്റ്റ് ആഡ് ചെയ്തായിരുന്നു. ഹലോ മിസ്റ്റർ കേൾക്കാവോ?
ഹലോ, കേക്കാം.
ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ ആഡ് ചെയ്തായിരുന്നു മിസ്സേ, ഹോസ്റ്റ് ആയിട്ടെ.
ഓക്കെ. അപ്പം ആ റെക്കോർഡിങ്സ് ഒക്കെ ഒന്ന് നോക്കിയിരുന്നാൽ മതി, കറക്റ്റ് സമയത്ത് ഓൺ ചെയ്യാനും ഓഫ് ചെയ്യാനും. നമുക്ക് 3 സെഷൻ ഉണ്ട്, 2 to 3:30. പിന്നെ വാലിഡിറ്റി പ്രത്യേകം നമ്മൾ അപ്ലോഡ് ചെയ്യണം. അതൊരു 10-15 മിനിറ്റ് കൊണ്ട് തീർക്കാം. 2 പേര് പാർട്ടിസിപ്പൻസ് ഫീഡ്ബാക്ക് പറയുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ. Good afternoon, everyone. The resource person is yet to join. We'll start in a couple of minutes. Resource person will be joining in 2 minutes. Participants, please stay. I think sir has joined. Welcome, Sonal sir. Am I audible to you?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. Can you like see me and hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see you, sir. Yeah. Shall we start?
Yes.
So, good afternoon, participants. Today we have the 6th day of our Atal FTP program on sustainable engineering and carbon neutrality. This is the last day of our session. So today's session we have Dr. Sonal K. Tengane. He's an associate professor in Department of Hydro and Renewable Energy, IIT Roorkee. He primarily works in the area of biomass conversion and upgrading, hydrogen production, biochar applications, and waste management. Earlier, he worked as a postdoctoral scholar at MIT and UC Berkeley in USA for 3 years on the project related to forest and agriculture biomass management. He has masters in chemical engineering from BITS Pilani with 10 CPI and PhD from IIT Bombay Monash Research Academy. He has served as an entrepreneurial lead for his team in NSFI Corps in USA and published about 40 research articles in international journals, 2 patents, and presently working on different projects focused on decarbonization and contributing to India's net zero targets. Welcome you, sir, to the session.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saidi. I just wanted to know before and so how have been the previous sessions? Is it like mostly one-way communication where the speaker shares the PPT and completes the talk, and then there are some questions, or we can have
Yes,
questions
sir.
during the talk?
Mostly they'll share the means you can share the PPT and talk, and at the end, maybe towards the end, 2 to 3:30, right? Towards last 10 to 15 minutes, we can have a Q&A session if the participants have any questions.
Yeah,
otherwise,
because my laptop screen is small, so once I share this my PPT, I won't be able to see any of the participants. Okay,
yes,
so that's
yes.
why I asked.
No issue, sir.
Okay.
You can speak.
Okay. So let me share the screen first. Please let me know if it is visible.
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. So today I'll be speaking about energy transition in India, and it's not a very highly technical talk where we'll be dealing with some scientific or technical terms, but it's more of an overview kind of thing. How India is channelizing its transition in the energy sector. So my name is Sonal, and I am in Department of Hydro and Renewable Energy, IIT Roorkee. I'm working here since last 5 years, and as the name of the department says, Hydro and Renewable Energy. So energy transition, in this particular case, renewable energy is one of the most important key players, which is actually responsible for transition and which is one of the main pillar. So I'll just share some data on the emissions related to the energy sector. First, let's talk about the global emissions and then about the Indian emissions. So this is the data from 2021, but even in 2024, the percentage-wise contribution of different sectors did not change by plus minus 1%. Okay, so as you can see here, the first data, it shows application-wise emissions. So it's basically the power industry, the power sector, followed by industry and transportation, which are responsible for highest percentage of emissions. And if you look at the region-wise, if you divide the globe in different countries and regions, so the highest emissions are from combined. The rest of the world is 35, but then China, USA, they have the highest emissions, followed by India, European Union, Japan. So these are obviously the top 4 economies in the world, and then there's European Union collectively and rest of the world. And if you look at the energy source-wise emissions, so here you can see it's coal, oil, and gas, followed by other processes like namely heat and others. And this is also following that rule of solid, liquid, and gas, because solid fuel won't burn much cleanly compared to oil or gas, and all 3 are obtained from fossil fuels. So these are the global emissions trends, and in India the trends are similar. Okay, if you look at contribution-wise, coal is the highest contributor, followed by oil and biomass, and then gas and others. And if you look at the sector-wise, it's again similar to like power, industry, transport, and buildings. So here it's the electricity, industry, transport, and buildings. And we are third largest electricity consuming nation, and we are the third largest emitter of GHGs. But if you compare with the global average, 510 grams CO2 per kilowatt hour, India's power sector emission is relatively high, mainly because of very high percentage of coal being used in our power sector. So why is it important to know the energy mix or sector-wise emission? Because this is just not the data for emission. Actually, it will be the basis for making decision towards energy transition. Once we know which sectors are like emitting most, which are the fuel contributing most, and which are the countries in the world which are contributing more to the global warming, accordingly, the need for energy transition and the solutions can be addressed priority-wise. So that's why knowing this emission scenario was important, particularly related to the energy sector. So now coming to energy transition. So as the word indicates, transition is shift. It's like if you are going from point A to point B, the journey between that point A and point B, or point 1 and point 2, is called as transition. Right? So it refers to the global energy shift, like as you can see in the picture, the arrows are going from this dark black like fossil fuel economy towards green renewable. So it's a global energy shift from fossil fuel based systems and framework of energy production and consumption. So please focus on these two words. So it's not only about energy production, but it's also about energy consumption. The transition, it is not required only in the way where we how we produce energy, like whether we get energy from fossil fuels or whether we get from renewables. That's one thing which deals with the production. But how we consume energy, like when I say consumption, there are many aspects associated with it, like the conservation, the reducing wastage, reducing losses of energy, increasing energy efficiency of the equipment. So all those things would come in under this both parts, including oil, natural gas, and coal, to those of renewable energy like other different examples. So at present, anyway, the amount of renewable energy share in the energy mix of any country, it is increasing. Okay, and that push towards renewable energy, as well as all the grids that are there, that are also being modernized. So those modernization of grids, then we are talking about energy storage. I just said like energy production, energy generation, and energy transmission, and then there is energy storage. This diagram shows with respect to electricity, you have generation and storage, you have transmission, and then you have distribution. So in this setup, there is a storage comes right after generation. So each of these four aspects or three aspects of energy generation, transmission, and distribution will undergo transition. That's the meaning of energy transition. So not just energy generation, but there are new technologies, new approaches coming up in energy storage equipment. Like there are new batteries, lithium-ion batteries are come up, sodium-ion batteries are coming up. Pumped hydro storage has been very successful for large-scale energy storage. Okay. In solar thermal, we use many different types of heat transfer fluids. Okay, so that basically transition, like you move from something less efficient to efficient, or come up with some new innovative way to deal with these things. And each of all these things are the key drivers for energy transition. So I use the term grid modernization. So it involves integrating the advanced technologies and renewable resources into the grid, improving its efficiency, reliability, and resilience. Because as you all know, most of the renewable energy, at least the wind and solar, they are intermittent in nature, and they are periodically available. They are not available throughout day and night, throughout all the seasons. So there is a very like the grid may become unstable. So to increase the reliability and resilience of grid after integration with renewable energy sources, I think it needs some advancement in the grid structure that we have. So that comes under grid modernization. And also at a particular location, if there are multiple sources for generating electricity, and how we integrate them and keep them at one place, like the hybrid systems, the smart systems. So those things will also come under the grid modernization at different scales. It can be microgrid, small grid, it can be hybrid grid, okay, or it can be the general electric grid. So in terms of sustainable development goals, obviously, like nowadays, whenever we do any research or any R&D, or even if you write any proposal, you have to mention clearly what sustainable development goals our proposed work is actually addressing. So far as energy is concerned, one direct goal affiliated to energy is affordable and clean energy, which is SDG 7. So in short, energy transition can also be defined as a journey from making unaffordable and unclean energy to affordable and clean energy. So, and as you know, like all these sustainable development goals, there are 17 of them, right? In 2015 December, I think they were finalized, and then in November 2016, they were asked to be implemented by all the nations so that we reach a developed state with respect to sustainable development goals by 2030. So in this, the goal number 7, this is affordable and clean energy, and most of the goals are interlinked with each other. So if we careful into this energy transition and shift towards this goal number 7, it can address some other goals also. And these are like climate change. So these are the different arrows shows other goals which can be satisfied partially by when this goal number 7 is satisfied. And the width of the arrow shows like which is more closely associated with that goal. Obviously, if you go for renewables, so climate action is taken care of. So that you see the bigger arrow size here. And since the transition could be on the basis of innovation and infrastructure, the industry innovation and infrastructure is another big area which is addressed by satisfying the sustainable development goal number 7. So then accordingly, different sectors are also influenced by this one particular goal. So that's just a way of representation of like how some country, while achieving one specific SDG, can indirectly achieve some other SDGs to a certain extent. So when I talk about energy transition, why should any country go for energy transition? Like what's the value? And so this simple figure from World Economic Forum shows the economic, environmental, societal value of that energy transition. These are just the factors which are mentioned here. Like obviously, there are some concerning factors, and those factors need to be addressed, and they can also be called as KPIs, right? So in industry terms, we use the terms called KPIs. So it's a key performance indicators. So obviously, CO2 emissions, water footprint, jobs, economic impact, air quality, equitable access. These are some KPIs which need to be addressed. And if a just energy transition is done, these things could be well in control. And when we look at the entire framework as a system value framework, there are like what I showed in the previous slide, how different sustainable development goals would be satisfied. The same is reflected here. Like it can make our energy sector energy efficient. It can create a lot of employment opportunities when we transition from like energy sector from one scope to other scope. Okay, it can provide equitable access to electricity so that more and more industries, small scale factories, they could operate, and the reliability and service quality of different like consumer based or service based businesses, they also increase. Okay, there's a lot about system upgrade. Like we have been hearing about this 5-star electric and electronic devices. Like there is a 5-star AC, 5-star fridge, which are like the capital cost is relatively higher, but then the operating cost would be on the lower side because it will save us on electricity bill. And if we take a life of say 10, 20 years, it comes out to be net economically profitable. So those kind of upgrades and flexibility or energy efficiency, those are all the system value frameworks of energy transition scenario. So if you have to address like energy transition, what are the key drivers and what would be the challenges? So let me just like sum up here in simple words. So why would any country or the industry sector or the corporates or businesses in any country go for energy transition? So these are the, obviously there are some governmental norms or in environmental and climate policies which forces any country or economy to obey the environmental laws and think about changing the ways they are doing so far as energy usage is concerned. Okay. Technological advancement. Most of the companies, they keep on updating, innovating their ways of production with time, and that is mainly to advance their technology and increase the rate of production or increase the profit margin or capture more and more market. That's what related to economic growth and job creation. These are the key drivers for energy transition, whether it's for government or whether it's for private sector, doesn't matter. For both, the drivers would be similar. But if we have to look at challenges, it's mainly with respect to the intermittency of renewable sources and energy storage associated with it. And for any transition, if we have to come up with a totally new setup, like let's take example of a hydropower plant. So hydropower plant, the projects in these countries, it takes like some projects have taken almost 50, 60 years also to get to the reality. But construction of dam, construction of reservoir, and then getting those environmental impact assessment reports done, approval, then shifting of people from one place to another, and then finally coming up the hydropower plant construction. So it's a very time-taking like activity, and it has a very high upfront capital cost, and even the geopolitical and social resistance to these kind of projects could be very high. Even when we talk about increasing energy efficiency or infrastructure, even the construction of roads, highways, setting up of roadways or waterways, water transport, they will also come in this. But then there are geopolitical and social resistance to this kind of activities. So these are the key drivers and these are the key challenges. But in this 4-quadrant diagram, where political and regulatory pressures are the key drivers, because anyone living in that country or in a state has to obey the norms of SPCB or CPCB, for example, in India. So here, like if you look at these 4 aspects, so one thing is all the energy market players, they have to provide new products and services. That's the key. Like if it has been observed that the products and services of particular company are not eco-friendly, or they are, while producing them, if it is not like environmentally benign, or if it is very expensive, then it forces those market players to come up with new products. Maybe it's take example of smart homes or EV. There are many companies and many agents, startups coming up in this sector. Then there is the customer demand for becoming more and more digitalized. So they need digital mobile self-serve. Everything should be on our fingertips. So it's like customized experience and 24/7 support. Not only in the transportation sector, but even when we buy fridge, microwave, AC at home, the customers. So we want that digitalized experience. So that thing is like again like a key driver to it. Okay, and legacy-based IT operation is for high TCO. TCO is like total cost of ownership. So if with respect to the legacy risk, the cost of ownership, if it goes very high, then people won't be flexible enough or agile enough to buy those things. So the things that are expensive or that needs complex or complicated maintenance should be made. So these come under the challenge category. And then there is always a cost pressure. Because when we talk about changing something or making something more efficient, it will always come at additional cost. So that pressure to reduce value-added cost or the cost to serve or the cost for which customers are willing to pay for, that always exists. So these are the key drivers and challenges related to energy transition. And so with this scenario, do we have any solutions and opportunities, mainly with respect to India? So let's look at it. So what we have seen so far, we started with the emissions related to the energy sector, and we saw like what are the different locations, region-wise emissions, the sector-wise emissions, the fuel-wise emissions, the source-wise emissions, and then we looked at the definition of energy transition, and at each stage of the life cycle of that energy delivery, there is a need for transition, like whether it's a generation, storage, distribution, or transmission. And then we looked at some challenges and drivers of energy transition. So the challenges that were mentioned, are there any solutions to it? So one of the solutions is decentralized energy systems. So now we are talking about like global level. So global energy transition starts with local solutions. Now this local word is very tricky, because when we talk something about in comparison to global, even something at the India level can be called as local. But if we talk about India level and something at a state level or at a district level or or a town level can be called as a local solution. So there are many examples in the world where local solutions have worked very well, and they have contributed towards that country's energy transition. That's a small scale local power generation, like let's say rooftop solar PVs or microgrids, because what happens, they will reduce the reliance on centralized power plants. So they will reduce the pressure on the main bigger grid, and they can improve the energy access in the remote areas. So for example, what India has done with solar rooftop solar PV and biomass gasification plants in rural India, Africa has done it with mini grids, again the solar energy and battery storage. And in India, like particularly like in the state where I live now in Uttarakhand and Himachal, as well as in the northeast, there are several micro or mini hydropower plants in the hilly regions of India. So if you look at this, so solar energy, even though it's widely available, but for residential or community requirement, we don't really need a huge plant, and the small scale mini grids would work. Biomass, it is again, even though it is very widespread, but collecting it, storing it, and using it for big centralized plants is a tough task, and sometimes it spoils the economic profit margin. So the decentralized small scale units would work better for localized feedstock. For example, in Uttarakhand, we have a lot of pine needles. So there are gasifiers operating on pine needles, mainly operated by several NGOs and some companies like Tata Power. And micro or mini hydropower plants, again, these are resource specific. Wherever there are water streams or river bodies with a sufficient slope, where we do not need to construct a huge dam, and even by constructing small channels or penstocks, if we could set up a water mill, I think hydropower plants can be set up in there. So that's one way, one solution for bigger countries. Then energy efficiency is a very key solution, because it was estimated by IEA, International Energy Agency, almost 40% of the reduction in emissions would come from energy efficiency. And this is where a lot of R&D can also go and contribute to increase the efficiency of the energy conversion devices as well as energy utilizing devices. Okay, so if we could increase the efficiency of our conversion and transmission and utilization, it can contribute to almost 40% of the emission reduction. And third one is it's a very widely talked about carbon capture, utilization, and storage. And for the world, in the next 25 years, it is expected to store about 10 gigatons of CO2 annually. So it's like almost 20-25% of the total emissions. But at present, this number is significantly low. It's not. I don't think it's in gigaton also. It's not even 1 gigaton at present. So there is a long way for CCUS to go and get commercialized in most of the countries in the world. So I hope this has been covered, or like what exactly carbon capture, utilization, and storage is. Like if you just take example of the carbon, the elemental carbon. See, so as long as this carbon is in the gaseous form, like which is CO2, then only it is a greenhouse gas and it is causing global warming, contributing to climate change. But if you could convert or this gaseous CO2 into solid form or liquid form, or we just put it back in the form of CO2 in the, like, compress it and store it in the cylinder, or put it underground deep into the aquifers and reservoirs, that is called as carbon capture and storage. And if we are able to get this CO2 rich stream, like much pure, like say more than 95% purity CO2 is there, it can be even used as an intermediate chemical for producing a lot of other chemicals and compounds. For example, CO2, you can use it in a fire extinguisher and all, but you can use it for making ammonia also, for urea also, sorry, by mixing it with ammonia. So CO2 is a very good feedstock for a particular industry. CO2 is a very good feedstock for algae. A lot of people are working on algae nowadays. So those are the areas where CO2 can be actually utilized. So CCS is one thing, carbon capture and storage. It will contribute to reducing this global CO2 emissions. But if we could utilize that CO2, it will contribute to even higher reduction in CO2 emission, because this, if captured CO2, if it is utilized, we put the CO2 to use, and we'll also avoid the carbon-based source which would come from fossil fuels otherwise for that particular process. So those are three major solutions, and there are several opportunities for different countries all over the world to contribute to this. So before moving to India, let's take some case study of Germany and China. I think these are the two countries which have undergone like a lot of energy transition in the last 20 years. Germany in the last 30 years, China in the last 20 years. So if you look at this graph, where it's the energy production and it's the electricity generation. So from 90s to 2020, the contribution by coal and nuclear and gas. So gas is almost steady, but all other, including nuclear, has gone down. And this is at the cost of increased renewable energy share after year 2000. And this increase has been almost more than 2 times, 3 times now for the year 2020. So there is a very good like gradual shift in the energy sector, and there is, you can see the shift is there in almost all sectors. But one thing you have to observe here, like while Germany was increasing its renewable share during 2000 to 2015, they did not reduce their coal. So the coal composition were constant only. And once the renewable energy sources were integrated into the grid, after like it was recently in 2018 or 19, this you can see the reduction in the contribution of coal because of very high increase in the renewables. So that's the thing that we can see from Germany. And if you look at the so this was some primary energy. It includes electricity, heat, and all the utilities wherever energy is consumed. But if you look at the electricity, coal has been phased out gradually. Not the brown coal, but the hard coal is almost disappeared, and the renewable sector has increased significantly, and oil and gas has also reduced drastically. So it shows like it's moving towards like almost 70% contribution is coming from renewable. So during this period, even in Germany, there has been a lot of policy shifts, lot of like the changes in the government and all. But then, what made it to sustain that energy transition? So if you look at this, half of Germany's renewable energy, almost 60 gigawatts solar, and it is locally owned. When I say locally owned means it's like owned by the people. So Germany's energy revolution was actually people power. Okay. So if you look at this 63 gigawatt of energy market, so almost 35% is owned by individuals, then farmers, and project planners, and then very small portion is owned by this commercial, industrial, and funds and banks. So if the transition, the key message from this case study is technology-wise, policy-wise, it's fine. We shift from fossil fuel to renewable, increase the infrastructure, increase the investment. But then if that transition is owned by people, and if people are locally like owning those assets of renewable energy or the transition energy sector, it will keep the economy of the country stable, and it will be more effective, and it won't have impact on like countries' other emissions. So that's the key message coming from here. The other case study is from China. So here what is happening? This is actually the forecasted data after this. Okay, so I'm not sure whether this has even started to happen. Even in 2025, it seems like the China's CO2 emissions have not yet stabilized. So they are in the like stabilizing phase only. It has not started it to reduce its total emissions. And the target for China is almost 2050. For India, it was 2070. Okay. But if you bifurcate this figure into China's total fuel consumption, you can see even at present, the amount of oil and gas, it is not yet started stabilizing or decreasing very fast. On coal side, you can see some decline would be there in next 5 years, but not a significant one. But then the increase in the renewables, like mainly the nuclear, hydro, and its combustibles, like related with biomass, which can be burnt, it is driving the China's energy transition. So the key events that happened in the world related to decarbonization of energy sector, one was Kyoto Protocol in 1998, where almost all the countries they were asked to cut down their GHG emission. But then it was based on the more the developed nations are, they should help the less developed or the underdeveloped nations to reduce their emissions also. Okay, and then in 2006 there was renewable energy law to enable a large-scale renewables. But in 2016, when there was Paris Agreement and Sustainable Development Goals and Global Warming 2 degrees pledge, it was that time when all the big economies in the world they determined their NDCs. So NDCs, national, I think, determination to carbon or nationally determined contribution to this carbon targets. And in that, I think India was amongst the countries which set up very highly ambitious target of 2017. So even in China's policy, they expect to increase carbon market to other sectors other than transport sector or hybrid vehicles after 2025. So it has not yet started it. but it has started its expansion into solar and wind capacities for sure. And so far as heavy industries are concerned, which are like the hard to abate sectors, they are not the priority at present. They would be considered later once this power sector and hydrogen and others like renewable investment is concerned. So now if you look at the India's power mix after Germany and China, so this is from 2024-23 data. So almost 43% is coming from non-fossil fuels, 56% is coming from fossil fuel. I think I called it non-fossil because it includes nuclear also. Okay, so nuclear it's not yet clear whether it's renewable or fossil. So let's call it non-fossil. So the total installed capacity was 470 something. I think now it has increased almost close to maybe I think almost reaching 500. So the predicted mix for 2030 was taking this 43% to 64%. So that this 56% comes down to 35%. So basically, moving from this point to this point can be called as energy transition. And by doing that, we have to remember the India's climate action targets, which is reach 500 gigawatt of non-fossil energy capacity. Okay. So this is that 515 gigawatt of non-fossil energy capacity that we expect to reach by 2030. So that almost 50% of the energy requirements will be met by renewables by 2030. This is only the power mix. Okay. So this is for electricity. That's why we are saying it's 64. But if we talk about total primary energy requirement, which includes heat and other utilities also, so there we expect to take that share to almost 50%. So this is, I think, almost everyone should be aware of it. The Panchamrit mission by our Prime Minister Modi ji, and he called upon this 5-point action plan at COP, and almost all the 5 points, they are based on like what we have covered so far. One is the net zero target by 2070. Even though it's a very highly ambitious target, but I think having this target would motivate more and more industries and R&D and technology creators and developers to come forward effective solutions. Then get to 500 gigawatts by 2030, this is non-fossil. Reduce carbon emissions by 1 billion tons, cutting carbon intensity by 45%, and then need for carbon climate finance and mitigation of emissions. So this is important, okay, because it is directly related to the policies, and it is because of this the new startups or industries that wish to come in this sector, where they can provide this finance for climate protection or mitigation of emissions. For example, carbon credit market or national carbon market. So those things would be undercovered under this fifth objective or fifth point of this 5-point action plan. Okay. So this is a slide shows the pillars of energy transition in India. And everything is focused on towards this target by 2017. So the 3 major pillars are grid decarbonization, industrial decarbonization, and transport transition. So in grid, as we have seen so far, like changing from like fossil fuel to renewable, like solar, wind, nuclear, waste to energy, and industrial, mainly the hard to abate sectors like cement, steel, fertilizer, or chemical industry. And in transportation, it could be either policy based or like equipment, like the public sector transportation based. So you use public transport, EVs, the planning of urban cities in such a way that less energy is consumed while people are like moving from one place to another. So that comes under urban planning and then cycling kind of initiatives. So these 3 factors account for more than almost 90% of India's current emissions. So it's the grid, industry, and transport. So if we focus all our energy transition efforts on these three sectors initially, and to focus those efforts, the enablers would be policy regulations, low-cost financing, and technology. So all three has to play roles, and that's why it's like government, academia, and industry have to work collaboratively if we want some effective solutions in this sector. So these are called as can be called as three pillars of energy transition, which needs our decarbonization efforts. So now, for that enablers, as showed this slide, the policy and regulations. So it is in India we have different ministries. So I like this slide a lot because it shows all kind of different agencies and ministries that are involved in the energy sector under Government of India. Like you have state government, or at union level we have different ministries which are dealing with external affairs, environment, railways, and then in energy sector we have power, coal, MNRE, petroleum, gas, atomic energy, and under this there are several public sector units or other bodies which deals with energy sector in India. But now the irony or the beauty of this framework is that if there are multiple ministries which are directly associated with the sector of energy, getting all of them at the same platform or at the same level with respect to one particular decision would be difficult. For example, if like recent, like I think last year or 2 years back, the news started to spread like India is losing out its coal reserves, all power plants will be shut down. Okay, so if in the name of energy transition, the government of India decides to shut down the coal power plants, it's not really possible or feasible at that time. I can give you one example. For example, if the coal power plants are shut down, before that energy sector or load shedding or this its stability happens, the Ministry of Railways is going to get affected, because at present almost 80-90% of the coal in our country is transported by railways. Like Indian Railway is the key transporter of coal, and they pay very high prices to railways for its transport. And because of those high prices paid by the industries, the passengers are enjoying the low prices in railways. So like this, different sectors are connected to each other, which may be of totally different domain. So when government has to take some decision, even though it's in the energy sector, there are multiple facets associated with it. And that's why it's really a tough job to make a policy which will be acceptable by all these ministries, and then it will be acceptable by all the citizens of the country. Okay, so those interlinkages need to be taken into account while making any policy related to the energy sector. And obviously, any government would be concerned about its ruling authority. So that's a separate factor, which and again that is related to the people's trust. So we cannot challenge people's trust or like their belief in the system and make things very difficult for them or very expensive in the name of policies. So that's why making any change in basic policies at a national level, it's very tough job. So far as transition is concerned, but still there are several acts and policies which are relevant in India. For example, we have Energy Conservation Act, which mandated, like which made it mandatory to use non-fossil fuel sources such as green hydrogen, green ammonia, biomass, bioethanol for energy and feedstock in industries. So that was under the Energy Conservation Act. And we had renewable purchase obligations. Every company or industry has to, and every electricity distribution licenses has to purchase or produce some minimum specified amount of renewable energy. And then we have National Solar Mission. It will promote the penetration of solar power in the grid. The target was 100 gigawatt by 2022. I think it is already achieved. The national policy on biofuels. The emphasis on biofuels is to reduce dependence on petroleum or oil products, and it can be done by increasing the biofuel production. And then we have National Green Hydrogen Mission to make India produce in a sector of green hydrogen. Again, there is a long way to go for green hydrogen also. Just like I told you for CCUS, it's not yet economical. It's very expensive, and there are several constraints associated with these technologies. But then others, the conservation, RPO, solar mission, policy on biofuels, they are working fine, and they can be easily expanded or extended further. So since even today more than 55 to 60% of people live in rural India, so when India thinks about its energy transition, it cannot neglect the rural India. Because what happens, most of the industries and companies would be in the urban or semi-urban area, and in rural areas we have only agriculture as main business. And then living population. So there are several schemes and initiatives which are coming up for rural India so far as energy is concerned. Like for example, this PM Kusum Yojana is there, where you solarize the agriculture and provide them this irrigation pumps or solar pumps to reduce diesel pumps. And if energy start to depend on renewable energy or solar energy for electricity requirement, it's a good scheme. Then we have this Har Ghar Bijli Yojana, where the world actually witnessed the largest expansion of energy access, and it was only then, I think, we started calling ourselves like 100% electrified. Though there are still some houses in remote areas and several places in India, but still the percentage of has significantly increased in the last 10 years, where energy access has had very large expansion. And Ujala, I think this was about I think the LED bulbs being distributed throughout the country at 10 rupees, and it saved a lot of electricity and reduction in power, and it also saved a lot of money as well as a lot of CO2 emissions. So those were Ujala schemes. Then on the waste to energy side, we have several schemes because India is the country with 1.4 billion population, and it is increasing. So since it is increasing now, the amount of waste that will be generated, especially municipal solid waste, it is going to increase more and more. So if you could utilize that waste as a source of energy, it's going to be a game-changing factor. The National Bioenergy Program is there of MNRE, and it has like 3 sub-schemes. One is the Waste to Energy Program, where government is providing assistance of like say 4 crore per 4.8 ton PD plant for bio-CNG, then 0.7 per megawatt for biogas. And it also has a biomass program, mainly for promoting briquettes and pellets in the industry. And it has a separate biogas program. So this waste to energy also includes biogas and bio-CNG, but it was mainly for urban agriculture industrial waste residue. And biogas program is mainly for community-based or annual SATAT scheme, which is called Sustainable Alternative Towards Affordable Transportation. And this SATAT scheme was from MPN, so Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. And they proposed to target this much, like set up 5,000 plants in India. So we have not yet reached this number even by 2025, but the team is working in that direction. Then other in the waste to energy sector only, we have Swachh Bharat mission. I think mission 1.0 was in 2014, which motivated a lot of people and became aware about the importance of cleanliness and sanitation. And in Mission 2.0, this waste management, water management, capacity building, the information education, those factors are also included to have a mass impact. And I think after COVID, this Swachh Bharat initiative components I have anyway taken more seriously. You can see a lot of people have started keeping their premises clean, the college campuses, the municipalities, and with all these awards coming up in place, where like you can see Indore being ranked as the cleanest city since last, I think 5-6 years, followed by Gandhinagar, then other some plant cities, Chandigarh. So those things motivate those municipalities to keep their cities clean. And there are some initiatives by Ministry of Urban and Housing Affairs related to cleanliness and waste to energy, and recycling as much waste as we can so that zero waste goes to the landfill, and we don't need any land for landfill. Even if the landfill can have modernized, engineered landfills. So before coming to like what would be the way forward for India, let me show this slide because India, like European Union, has several countries. India can be considered as one big union with like more than 30 states and some union territories now. So, and since in each state, the governing body of the government is different. So, at state level, progress, like, or you can call it a decentralized progress, would be more effective towards a clean energy transition, and it will need actions from all the different players. It can be DISCOMs, the power regulators, generators, and nodal agencies. So the 4 key factors that need to be asked to each of those states is the one related to decarbonization, the performance of power system, the readiness of power ecosystem, and the policies and political commitments. So these 4 questions, like how states fare in terms of shifting from fossil fuels to renewable. So a lot of states, like based on like whatever renewable resources available to them, they have made policies and they have done that shifting. So if a particular state has done that shifting, like say 5 years back, so how's their performance after 5 years? Whether it's, so that's the first question towards decarbonization. How well are the assets or the states positioned to be able to create greener market pulls positively? So the power system, whether it's performing properly or not, whether it is able to attract more greener market or not, and are those states ready to transform their power ecosystem, like while ensuring reliable electricity supply? So like I said, the reliability and stability of grid is important. So without disturbing that, are the states ready to transform their power systems? So different states would be ready to different extents. So like I said, this 1, 2, 3, 4. So something which is 1, it means like it's totally ready. 4, it's not yet ready. 2 and 3 can be. So that way relative grading or weightage-based questions could be asked to different states. And policy, how proactive the states are in promoting policies to decarbonization power sector. This is a very good example here because CPCB makes some norms, some compliance, and then at state level, SPCBs tend to follow it or implement it. But at the state level, beyond the guidelines given by Central Pollution Control Board, are they doing anything more proactively? Because every state's challenges and emissions in the Indian sector will be different, and a universal compliance or universal solution may not be applicable in the entire country. So the answers to this kind of 4 questions for each state electricity board or like the energy sector would help in calculating each state's progress towards clean energy transition. And once we have this data from all the states, the total net collective information can be represented as the performance of the entire country. So coming towards the end, like what's the way forward for India now? If we have to talk about energy transition. So one thing was like the previous slide, you start with the identification of state's potential. So each individual state, how much potential it has to contribute to renewable energy and how it can contribute to energy transition goal and how it can be systematically leveraged contributing to overall country's economy. For example, geothermal energy in Ladakh, of solar projects in Rajasthan, bamboo in Northeast. Now, I think recently in Kashmir, we got lithium deposits. So if we are talking about material procurement for energy storage, something to be done in that direction because it will come under the Kashmir's potential now, the lithium. Then increase private investment in R&D. I think this is required in almost all the sectors because government or public sector alone cannot deal with this problem. As we can see, like application or sector-wise, it's the industry and transportation sector, which were just after the power sector, the two major contributors. So where most of the industries, private industries are involved. So India should prompt policies to attract more FDIs also in the renewable sector, and it will help better. International support and global cooperation. And I think India is getting involved in International Solar Alliance, Global Biofuel Alliance. So with Brazil and US, India is one of the key players in Global Biofuel Alliance, so that they can channelize the expertise in this. That alternate livelihood opportunities. So this thing is also one concern or comes as a challenge when we talk about energy transition from fossil to non-fossil, because the coal mines, power industry, it's also a very big industry now, which is employing a lot of people. So those people should not be losing their jobs because of energy transition. So those people need to be trained for new employment opportunities as quickly as possible, so that if there is a shift from fossil to renewables, the same people can work in the renewable sector. And proper planning and monitoring for transmission and renewable energy project planning. It should be integrated with proper regulations, proper monitoring, and the supported by EIS studies, LCS studies, and then SWOT analysis of different policies existing in place and the need for new policies. So all those things would come under this proper planning and monitoring sessions. So with these 5 points as a way forward for India, let me come to the concluding remarks based on what we have discussed so far. So is there a need for energy transition? Yes, there is. It's essential for climate change, for achieving sustainability, for ensuring energy security. But then with renewable energy, there are issues such as intermittency, high initial investment, social resistance, and to solve them, it will need a collaborative effort from government, business, individuals, from all sectors. And transition is something which should create a lot of opportunities for innovation, technological advancement, and economic growth. Though there are some key sectors like green hydrogen, smart grids, carbon capture, which can be the next frontier for energy systems. So it's not wrong if countries are investing in these sectors at present. And if countries like Germany, China leading the way for energy transition, I think if we have global coordination in this sector, it can help a country like India to scale up or to make to commercialize its energy solutions and share the best practices. So, for specifically for India, since considering our major population living in rural sector, so rural upliftment of economy and utilization of waste because of very high population in India. So these two sectors are very essential along with technology and grid modernization. Just like I said, in Germany, the energy transition was people owned. So if we focus on rural sector energy transition and utilization of waste for energy, and again, these things will be mainly people owned and it will be more effective. So the future is renewable and the time to act is now. Thank you so much. So I will stop here for few questions if anyone have from the audience.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the session.
Yeah.
Participants can ask questions if any.
So I think since we have 10-15 minutes, the thing which was missing, like after thank you slides, there are like couple of projects that I am working on at present, or I have worked earlier, so I can show them also, and then
Yes,
they
sir,
can
sure.
have some questions.
Participants, you can type the questions in the chat window as well. You
Yeah.
can send us.
In the meantime, if there are any questions, the participants can just type it. So is my screen visible?
Yes, your screen is visible.
So this is a thank you slide, right?
Yes, it is a thank you slide.
Okay, so I'll just talk quickly, like 5 minutes, about the projects that I'm working on. So one thing is biochar production. So by different thermochemical conversion processes, like whether it's combustion, gasification, liquefaction, pyrolysis, torrefaction. So as you go on increasing the temperature, you can see we get solid, liquid, and gaseous product. In combustion, we get heat, and just ash is the product. So basically, these processes are there for biochar production, and it is the level of oxygen. So pyrolysis, carbonation we do in absence of oxygen. Gasification we have insufficient oxygen, and in combustion we have sufficient oxygen. So these three processes, torrefaction, pyrolysis, gasification, these are the areas where my lab currently works, and we produce biochar. And then we try to use that biochar in different applications. So biochar has got several applications, but in our lab we use it mainly for soil amendment and there is water, the heavy metal or pollutant removal from wastewater. This one project, it's from DST, where we propose conversion of paddy straw, which is burnt in Punjab and Haryana, and then it causes pollution in Delhi. So using oxidative torrefaction, we convert it into biochar, add some nutrient additives, and then make a final product which can be a good fertilizer substitute. And the idea is like the mobile reactor unit goes from small farms, collect crop residues, convert to biochar. Then it goes to a bigger farm, some nutrients are added to it, and then it's distributed back to the same farm, closing the loop. So in this, we did reactor lab testing, field testing, some feedback, some soil trials, and then we interact with farmers and investors. So the other application of torrefied pellet is we mix it with coal and study the co-firing, whether it changes, it has any effect on emissions and particles. This is the setup that we have at IIT Roorkee for torrefaction. These are some lab study results where we prepare the soil and look at germination after 15 days, 45 days, 90 days on different plants. So some of them have biochar modification, some of them do not have biochar modification. And what we observed was that, so the best set of lab were replicated in the field. So in field trials in the Roorkee near Solani, we tested the best performing lab set of experiments. And we observed that if we add 1% biochar in the soil, and we can reduce 25% fertilizer requirement, and it gave the same crop growth without biochar, but almost 100% fertilizer requirement. So that's what we observed. And on the water side, we observed that almost 8 to 10% reduction in the water for irrigation is there. This is one project that I did in USA for forest residue management. So this in California, there are a lot of private forests of 50,000 acres, 100,000 acres. and they grow redwood. So redwood is a very high quality timber wood which goes to the market. It has a very high value. But whatever forest residue or slash is remaining, that it becomes a cause for fire. So we propose the mobile pyrolysis units, which can go convert that slash into biochar and apply that biochar within the same forest, so that there are some carbon credits and it also adds to the yield of redwood. That was the idea. And there were benefits of 2 to 12 tons of CO2 per hectare. But the break-even cost for the entire setup, like which includes the construction of road and all, it was very high. Like you can see, 200 to $480 per ton CO2. Nobody would be able to pay this high amount for biochar-based carbon credit. So when we try to optimize it and make some decisions that this activity should be done right after the timber cutting is done, so that the roads are already there, and then the choice of forest area which needs biochar amendment, those choices. But again, that brought down the cost for optimized system to $100 per ton. And in case of India, even $100 per ton of CO2 is very expensive so far as biochar is concerned. In India, at present, the current price which is going for ton of CO2 for biochar is $20 max. We cannot get bigger than that. In IIT Roorkee campus, we have set up this solar-powered plasma pyrolysis setup, and it processes dry portion of MSW as feed. The non-inert means the stones and rocks are removed, and then we try to convert it into syngas and generate power, and use that power to charge e-rickshaw on the campus. So there is a savings on waste management. There is no benefit on energy side, because whatever energy we are generating, almost equivalent amount of energy is required to operate this whole facility. That's why we proposed having solar panels to provide power required for plasma, so that we have some net energy positive. But without solar panels, the system is not energy positive. But the objective was to manage waste in the campus, and then use that ash obtained from this plasma torch for brick manufacturing. The last project which I would like to show you is which we did at IIT Bombay. It's so garden waste pelletization and gasification for thermal application. As you can see, it's a simple gasifier with a cyclone, so that there is a cook who was trained to cook only the things which do not need continuous manual intervention. Like we didn't ask him to make sabji or roti. He can just make dal, chawal, or boil water for boiled potatoes. So we did design this gasifier for high ash feedstock. More than 15% ash was there in the garden waste, because when this leaves litter is collected, a lot of sand, dust, it goes along with them. And this one video here which shows like how it can be done. But these are some results where this shows the mass balance for the base case, and that's for the improved case, where for 40 kg pellets, we have almost 93% conversion to producer gas, and a lot of clinker used to be formed. So in our improved design, we avoided the formation of clinker. We removed the formation of clinker, and all the clinker started to come out as residue without changing the efficiency of gasifier significantly. And the savings for one college canteen was around 11,000 rupees per month, and the cost of gasifier was around 1.5 lakh. So payback is coming out to be 1.5 years. So less than 2 years is the payback if a college campus decides to set up a gasifier and use the campus trees and reduce litter waste as a feedstock in the college canteen. And the saving was from reduce 1 LPG cylinder per day. So thank you so much. Yeah. If you have any questions, we can take it now.
Thank you, sir. We have some questions in the chat window. Can you see it or should I read that?
No, I can see. Hmm. Yeah, so this is ranking of energy transition index of India. So I'm not sure if there is any index like that. Uh, if but if there is one, then I'm not aware of it. But if there is no such index, I think it can be a good idea to have this index of energy transition, because uh, since different countries' economy sizes are different, their journey or challenges or hurdles for transition will be different. So if we have one common uniform index, just like SDG index, we have Sustainable Development Goal Index, which is based on almost 97 different types of indicators for year 2024. Every year it keeps on changing how many indicators would contribute to that index. So similarly, this energy transition index can be estimated by taking into account 10 or 12 factors, uh, and it, and then we can see which country ranks where. So I am not aware of energy transition index of India if it is already there. Second question is it possible to utilize sodium ion battery and hydrogen as fuel to reduce zero carbon emissions? Yeah, using hydrogen as fuel would definitely reduce carbon emissions, provided that hydrogen is produced from a non-carbon source. If we are producing hydrogen by steam methane reforming of naphtha or natural gas, then that will not help to contribute to reducing the emissions. But if we are producing hydrogen by electrolysis, and the electricity required for that electrolysis is coming from renewable, it can definitely offset a lot of carbon emissions. If we can produce hydrogen from biomass, it can again contribute to zero carbon emissions. And sodium ion battery, I think if we could use that, it will contribute economically, because we will not have to import these rare earth elements from other countries, which is very expensive. So if sodium ion batteries become a reality, it will help us in that sense. So I think this is a suggestion. I think it's not a question, right? Fell down ranking is due to political commitment, finance, and in yeah, I agree with this statement. So ranking typically goes down with the political commitment and finance, and nobody would deny that. You can see what is happening in the world with tariff war, which is going on now. So the ranking of US is not going up. The image of US in the trade sector is actually going down, and on the other hand, the China's image is going on upward front. So these things do matter. Uh, and India is 71st ranked, somebody mentioned. So that's good to know. So I assume it's the energy transition index rank, because in SDG index, I think India is 106 or 109. But in energy, if it is 71st in the list of those 200 countries, I think there is still a long way to go for India.
Is there any other questions participants want to ask directly? Can ask.
For vehicles related to hydrogen, there are a lot of safety precautions. I mean, first of all, it depends whether we are talking about like the light motor vehicles or the heavy duty vehicles. Heavy duty vehicles, I think it's not at it's very difficult yet. But for LMVs, I think we have got this good composite carbon fiber based cylinders which are coming up in market, which can store hydrogen safely. But then more than this hydrogen based vehicle thing, hydrogen storage at the gas stations is also a key concern. And when hydrogen is pressurized at 350 or 400, 450 bar, at a gas station, having a pipe connection between the pump and the vehicle, and there the safety aspects need to be proper, and labor should be properly skilled and trained on filling those hydrogen-based vehicles. So, yeah, the safety precautions are required. These are a couple of them which I mentioned, but there will be many more, and it would be as per different IS, like BIS or IS standards that need to be followed. Like what kind of ring can be used, what kind of metal can be used, so that it is not corrosive towards hydrogen. Also, when it is consumed in the vehicle, the byproduct is going to be water. And if it is coming out of something like silencer or something, so it should not cause rusting, and so it should come out directly without getting stuck in the tube. So those things need to be considered while designing a vehicle for hydrogen. Hello?
Any other participants want to ask question?
So when do they have the next talk? Is it at 3:30 only?
Yeah, it is at 3:30, sir. Next talk is at 3:30.
Oh, I think it's better to give them 5 minutes breathing space then.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the participants don't have another questions, we'll wind up the session. Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for your session, for covering all the aspects of that energy transition sectors related
Thank
to
you.
India. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the session. Participants can ask any questions that mail to sir or to me. And
Yeah, my email ID is there. Okay.
so, dear participants, please stay. We can have the next session by Dr. Sri D. Suvash Babu. He's a registrar at Energy Management Center. We'll start the session. I think we have 5 more minutes. I think sir has already joined. Sir, have you joined in the session?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Good evening.